Righty, ladies and gentlemen, looks like we've got the Gacha DG2, my favorite monotone gacha content creator, back at it again with another video. And it's pretty clear that Gacha DG has been taking some inspiration from me when it comes to the title of this bad boy. Just a very simple 5 words: Genshin Impact devs gave up. Oh boy, can't wait to see what this one's all about, because one thing that the Gacha DG2 is doing is something that I'm not doing. He's actually playing the Natlan updates, or sorry, the Nod Cry updates. So why don't we go ahead and see what he has to share regarding, well, why this situation, this title, is taking place. Let's get right on into it.
Let's see how Gacha PvP is doing. Yep, we're right where we should be. I can't wait to spend $20,000 on the next units so we can stay ahead of all the trash. I know that might be sarcasm, but don't say I didn't try to give Genshin its flowers.
Not gonna lie, I think bro's been working on the monotone. No joke, I think he's trying. Hey, I'll give him recognition if that's what he's trying to do. I can see the effort if that's taking place. It does look like he's trying to be more expressive with the voicing.
I did say there were good things about the game, but soon Genshin Impact is going to get to the point where characters might as well have an expiration date on them. Genshin Impact is the model for the gacha industry, no matter how much you love it or hate it. So whatever they do, everyone else will follow.
You guys know Nahida, right? Considered one of the most future-proof units in the game, almost required for Dendro meta. Yeah, they added Nahida C2 into just Llama's baseline kit. Just so you know.
In fact, this would be the perfect time for the Genshin Impact dev team to get their shit together, because for once, it seems like the interest for WUWA is pretty low, at least in the media. So let's ask ourselves a question. How does Genshin Impact capitalize off of the interest for their biggest competitor being this low?
Did bro basically make a video on how the Genshin devs can capitalize off of the failures of Kuro Games in recent updates to Wuthering Waves to have anything to do besides play a fucking minigame and the story? Is that what he's referring to right now? Awesome.
By requiring you to skip rent once a month when your favorite character's partner comes out? Oh, wait, don't.
Okay, so yeah, never mind. He's not going over the solutions. He's basically just saying everybody sucks right now. This is like, yeah, this is like those Reddit threads where people are asking, am I the asshole? No. The answer is ESH. Everybody sucks here.
Don't worry, you can pull a C1 to make him viable without this robot that nobody wanted. So that's right. For all of you that forgot to theorycraft that an EFA would be required for a DPS that was coming out in the future, all you have to do is pull for an extra copy of him. No big deal, right?
The way that these banners are designed, you actually have to engage with leaks, otherwise you waste pulls. I've realized that. You actually genuinely need to look at leaks. Otherwise, you will end up, like, imagine if you pulled, instead of Escoffier and Skirk, you pulled Skirk and Anefa. Your account is, like, bricked. Like, legitimately, you are fucked. If you did Skirk Anefa instead of Escoffier Skirk. Imagine if someone did Escoffier Anefa, or Escoffier Flins, or Flins Skirk. You're fucked.
Right? And you might as well go for that weapon while you're at it. Oh, and I'm not done yet. He needs a Nod Cry unit too.
This is the thing about why I can't even necessarily fault Genshin CCs for covering leaked content, because otherwise your viewers will just brick their accounts if they don't do that. If you don't have further knowledge, it's like, hey, yeah, this character's completely fucking useless in the present meta. But, by the way, yeah, in 2 months, they're gonna have their best DPS come out.
With Wuthering Waves being on its back foot recently, this game has had a serious chance to earn back some of their audience. But the devs refuse to address some of the aging problems in this game. Genshin used to get so much praise for its 4-star roster, and it was well deserved. Kujou-Sara used to be a great 4-star option for Raiden, if not the best back in the day, but it doesn't matter because the Archon got power crept into oblivion. And
now your Archon, who is meant to be the main DPS, you know, the main DPS Archon, Raiden Shogun, because she got the giant sword and she's able to cleave continents in half. You want to know what she's been reduced to? She's a Hyper Bloom applier. You press E on her and then switch to the next character. You don't even press the left mouse button or the ultimate button. All you do is press the E button, then move on to the next character. That is her use case.
We don't want to buff Archons because then how are we going to...
She's actually less interactive than Zhong Li. Because if with Zhong Li, you gotta make the crazy gameplay decision of holding E to make his shield pop out, right? With Raiden, you can't even hold the button. You just do a light tap and then you're done.
Sell this random character we've never heard of up until a month ago. And the worst part about 4 stars not having pity is that Genshin will probably never change this.
Oh yeah, and then I forgot, but he was listing it over here. This is who Raiden Shogun is getting power creds by. So yeah, that's your new god, I guess.
Ago. And the worst part about 4 stars not having pity is that Genshin will probably never change this because they might make even more money off of this than they do the 5 stars.
Agreed. When you look at some of the 4-star designs in Genshin, oh boy, oh boy. I hope he lists out a couple examples.
Really dedicated players are going to continue to pull on a banner even after they get that limited 5-star because certain team compositions need a C6 4-star character. It's no coincidence that some of the most recent ones, being Chevreuse and Yansan, are pivotal in certain team comps.
And before, they did the same thing with other elements. You got Chevreuse for Overload, you got Yansan for Electro, and Overload as well, to be honest. And then you also had a Nemo Farazan C6, and then you had, for Geo, Goro C6.
Genshin is about to get into a problem that Star Rail has had for years. A vertical investment dumpster fire. C1s are already extremely powerful, or even just fixed character restrictions. I first noticed it whenever Natlin first came out with Mualani. I got 2 in my first 10 pull, by the way. But I was like 30 pity. Let's go. No way! But her C1
Bro was such a nerd back then. It wasn't even that long ago.
Is an absolute game changer in not only damage, but exploration QOL. The overpowered C1s started even earlier than that when Nuvalet released. And a character like Chiori literally has her kit fixed by her C1.
Chiori and Ryodzli. Honestly, we thought it was bad when Chiori and Ryodzli had parts of their kit locked behind C1. Honestly, it was better back then. It was better than whatever kind of clusterfuck for sort of like dual DPS support combination you need nowadays. Jesus Christ.
If you have realized how crazy the damage increases and now even the QOL enhancements are that these new constellations get, and you see these new constellations having bigger incentives to pull also because of level 100, I'm sure you can see where this is going. Genshin and HSR have been bouncing predatory ideas off of each other for a while now. HSR has ridiculous power creep and HP inflation. Genshin completely blows up 4 years of balance on January 1st, 2025. Genshin introduces a useless whale endgame mode. HSR releases Anomaly Arbitrage.
Oh, but Anomaly Arbitration isn't a whale endgame mode. Look, Mr. Pokey cleared it on his free-to-play account. It's not a whale mode. He cleared it on his free-to-play account. Just, if that's the narrative that you're gonna go for, just make sure you don't watch this video. Don't watch this one. Right underneath me. Don't watch that one. And also don't watch that Acheron E6 S5 failed video. Just don't watch those, okay? Otherwise, you might be in some trouble if you're trying to reconcile this one. Just a bit of advice for the shills out there.
HSR creates characters that literally require their eidolons to last longer than a month. Do you see where I'm going with this? Speaking of shit that nobody asked for, is anyone excited for user-generated content?
Crazy made it, where you at?
Hey guys, today I wanted to log into Genshin Impact. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into Genshin Impact and not play Genshin Impact.
That's so easy!
Who the fuck is you, bruh?
Now, granted that the UGC is a legitimate sandbox mode, this could be pretty good for Genshin. But let me ask you a question. Would you rather user-generated content or Genshin Impact solving 90% of its problems right now? Exactly. People play this game for what they've been seeing for 5 years. Well, you're being so negative. Why can't you just give them some credit? Because Genshin can solve most of their problems right now in one update. You're telling me that they can't update the resin bank and get rid of condensed resin?
This is how we know the Genshin devs could solve it all in one update. Because they sent you out a survey 7 months ago asking basic shit like, are you satisfied with the time limit on acquiring talent level up materials and weapons? They know what's wrong with the game. They know literally all the solutions, how people are feeling. They know exactly what needs to be changed, right? They list it out over here for you in plain English. They could, on a dime, fix everything in these games immediately, but they're simply choosing not to. And instead, they're going to put FOMO behind all of this shit. They're going to make it so that when you condense resin, you have 20 left over, so you're re-incentivized to log in again, instead of just adding in fucking, oh, I don't know, reserve resin when you're regenerating while overcapped. But that game still doesn't have it after 5 years. These guys all know exactly what's wrong with the game and how to fix it, but they just don't want to fucking fix it because they found a way to monetize the fixes. They're monetizing the fixes or adding FOMO to them instead of just fixing them.
Get rid of encounter points, make all domains open all the time, remove stamina outside of combat, give pity to 4 stars, buff older units, and add artifact loadouts.
And the crazy thing is, we're not even asking for more ambitious shit, right? Like, oh, can you remove the 50-50? Ooh, can you make the weapon banner guaranteed? Ooh, can you give me a Lamborghini for free? Right? We're not asking for shit like that. It was like, 90% of the solutions are just like, can you make this game seem at least a little bit more modern? Can you just do what you do in ZZZ and HSR in this game? That is like the extent of the requests. Can you just put what's in your newer titles in Genshin Impact? That's the ask. Because guess what? Hawkeye Star Rail has a skip button too now, bucko. And it actually is like a usable one. Not that dog shit in ZZZ that's trash. That you can't even skip dialogue with. All you can skip are cutscenes. The things that you actually want to watch that are voiced in ZZZ. HSR skip button is better than ZZZ's. I don't even know, like, that is the part that baffles me, to be honest.
I didn't even get to all of it, but I just think it's interesting how they had all this time to make a whole sandbox mode, and they can't click a couple of buttons to make the game 50% better.
Oh, but they're all on different teams. It doesn't take a team of people to just take that fucking locked mechanic for talent mats and just delete it.
Anyways, regardless of that, the UGC does look pretty interesting. What this tells me is that they look at themselves like a Fortnite who knew they couldn't live off of the hype of their release forever, so they created more avenues to experience their game. They've actually had a lot of success with it, considering a lot of the younger generation picked up Fortnite in recent years. But the difference between a game like that and Genshin is that that dev team listens, maybe a little too much. So given that the UGC isn't brutally monetized like the main game, then we could be looking at something that could breathe new life into Genshin. And I'm sorry for saying ZZZ had the worst boss design I've ever seen, because that title might actually have to go to Genshin Impact. Do I need to remind you that there was a tutorial on how to climb these abyss pillars without natling units?
Bruh. Bruh.
I feel like that's one of the iconic moments from my channel, is when I said the game had racist pillars. When I said the pillars were racist.
Fear Magneto!
They were making you do tech that you had to go research in order to interact with the game mechanic. It's already bad enough that they've created artificial difficulty in the Spiral Abyss, but their ideas for a quote-unquote new endgame haven't aged well. In fact, the Imaginarium Theater recently just got updated, and sadly, they forgot to just remove the entire game mode. Instead, they decided to add a new mode with my new least favorite word, lunar. And anytime anything endgame related is added into Genshin at this point, you should know to brace for impact, because it's about to be complete bullshit.
He's not wrong. Yeah, they've decided to, for some odd reason, design bosses where if you don't use these lunar reactions that are only available in Nod Cry by pulling on the new characters, by the way, they're new, so you don't have them on their accounts. You're going to have to buy them and spend money for them. By the way, you need those characters that you need to buy and spend money on to fight the bosses. Otherwise, they're like functionally immortal. Much like how if you don't have Skirk and Escoffier, they have this one Natlan boss that's literally immortal. Because you need to apply so much cryo that he turns useless. Otherwise, he's immortal.
Compared to the previous hardest mode, Visionary, you need to use 6 more characters on top of what was already required, which has us at 28 units required. And then if you want extra stat buffs, you're looking at 32 units you need to own. So you know what that means.
Wait, so I need to build 32 units.
In a couple years, they'll require you to have the whole goddamn roster to even walk into the theater.
Bro, they're just gonna have a new game mode where if you don't have all 13 Fatui Harbingers, you just get kicked out of the game.
By the way, this isn't even talking about the elemental restrictions yet. Because remember, in the Imaginarium Theater, you can only use characters from a certain element. It would be great if there was actually more of an incentive to pull older units or just getting more pulls in general. And remember, a good build takes weeks or even months to get. Even if you spend thousands on this game and you have characters already built to challenge this mode, there are still restrictions like boss mechanics being completely RNG. At least make the end result easy for people who are funding Nexus Anima for you. They need to make an endgame that free-to-plays can access instead of just a race against the timer. Oh, did I mention we need more pulls? It's funny that people say you don't need certain characters to make other...
I think that the game just needs to go back to whatever the fuck it was doing in Fontaine. That's my take on Genshin's endgame and design and all of that. As far as I'm concerned, Fontaine was literally the best time in like Genshin history, from like a story, events, gameplay, and balance perspective. Where Farina released and then she proceeded to usher in one of the most healthy metas the game has ever had. And then now it's the worst meta the game has ever had, where 90% of the roster is literally unusable.
Units work, but they also don't understand that as the damage ceiling gets higher, that literally becomes the case. These new DPS characters come out with actual incomplete kits that can only be completed with their partner. Do you realize that at the rate Genshin is moving now, Mawika will get power crept fairly soon? I know, it sounds crazy, but it will happen.
You know what I actually think happened? I think that Genshin Impact actually saw what Wuwa did with Spectrofrazzle, like Zani and Phoebe, and they were like, why don't we just do that with everybody? Somebody at Hoyo Studios, why don't we just make every character a Spectrofrazzle character? We'll make millions!
Especially when Columbina is finally released. Considering how well Mawika did, why don't they just do it all over again? Columbina will be the best character in the game by shattering the damage ceiling. She'll only want Nodcry characters on her team, and she'll be released alongside her partner.
I mean, you already know that's what's happening with fucking Cyrene. That's what's happening with Cyrene. That's what's gonna happen in Genshin. You all know what I bet's gonna happen to ZZZ? You're gonna have that fucking Yu Shungung, whatever her name is, the new Void Hunter, and she's gonna have a passive that's like, if you have 2 other 2.0 units on your team, she deals a 9,000% more damage. Yeah, if you have the Yunkai Summit teammates on her team, she deals like 500% more damage. She does? No, she doesn't. She's not. Her kit's not out yet. Stop lying.
This isn't even theory crafting either. It's just common sense because that's how they found the most success. And I'm sure if you're a dedicated free-to-play, you'll let me know if I'm wrong. Because I know you look at leaks. I'm not blaming you because you literally have to in order to plan your pulls.
He's not wrong. You have to look at leaks to plan your pulls in Genshin Impact. Like I said before. Because they will release the support who looks kind of constrained, and then the DPS who interacts perfectly with that support, like fucking 80 days later, 40 days later, they'll release the DPS. And this is the thing, guys. I'm glad that Wuwa doesn't do that anymore. But the thing is, actually, even in the one instance where they did it, it wasn't even that bad. You want to know why? Because it was Chikona and Kartithia. But you already knew what Cartithia's kit was while Chakona's banner was live. So it's like, it wasn't even that big of a deal because Chakona wasn't first phase. She was second phase. And so you got Cartithia's kit details while Chakona's banner was live. Guess what Escoffier was? First phase. And so by the time Skirk's details came out, you didn't know. The banner was already gone for Escoffier. And Nefa, also first phase. Flynn's is second phase of the next update. So it's even a longer span of time, but there's no way you could have known that Flynn's was supposed to use a Nefa unless you looked at leaks or leak field content. Yeah, even in the one instance in Wuwa history where you could think about it, didn't happen.
But you shouldn't have to do that in order to be able to clear endgame content. Genshin Impact has had a pretty good story recently, but the storytelling is still awful, and I don't think they'll budge when it comes to that. This is pretty much just a story game for a free-to-play at this point because they refuse to fix basic problems that could be solved in 5 minutes.
I mean, that's what it is. I've said that Genshin HSR are story-based games, and then you pay money to unlock the endgame. They're free-to-play if all you're doing is engaging with them casually. But if you want to play the game at any degree of like a meta level, engage with any of the end game modes, you better start paying or you will not be able to, or get very lucky in the gacha.
Nodcry plot can only carry them so far, so I'm sure they'll stretch out Nodcry and Snezhnaya as long as possible to nickel and dime you for as many years as possible. There is still...
I think that they're going to milk Nodcry and Snezhnaya so hard. We're about to get... Think about it this way. We're about to get Lunar... We already got Lunar Bloom. We're about to get Lunar Overload. We got to get Lunar... what's it called? Lunar Swirl. Forgot that one. What about Lunar Freeze? We need Lunar Freeze. You can't forget about that. Lunar Melt. Lunar Vaporize. Lunar Superconduct. Lunar Crystallize. I forgot that one too. Lunar Crystallize. Then we're going to get Lunar. Yeah, we're going to get Lunar reactions. Yeah, because they're going to make a Lunar version of the existing Lunar ones. The sky is the limit. The sky is the fucking limit with this shit. Because instead of reworking dog shit reactions to make them work properly, because God knows nobody is using Crystallize, nobody is using Superconduct, nobody used Electrocharge, nobody used fucking Burgeon or even Hyperbloom in the current meta because they got all power crept. And so it's just like, yes, instead of reworking these reactions to make them usable, we're going to make it so that your characters literally cannot be played unless you pull these new ones.
Still a ton of characters that people have been waiting on for years, like the Saritsa, who they will hold over your head for years to come. The normal reaction to seeing a character that you like in a story is wanting to use one of those characters for yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Maybe Genshin has conditioned you to quote unquote not want a character, but if you're free to play, most of the time, that's just because you can't get that unit. Genshin has had the tools to create a long-lasting game, and now more than ever is a perfect time to deliver. The first of the new generation of gacha games are close to release, and Hoyo might miss their window to retain a large chunk of their player base.
I think that there's such a massive opportunity out there for all these new gachas coming out to, once again, you know, lift more and more of a disgruntled player base. And I'm going to be real over here. It's actually baffling to me that the Wuwa developers, I'm going to call them out once again, have decided to take their foot off the gas pedal for basically everything in Wuthering Waves except for the story. They've taken their foot off the gas pedal in so many other aspects as all of this new competition is coming out. And maybe that means that according to their internal research or whatever, right, they don't fear much at all, right? Maybe the Wuwa devs are extremely confident that there's nothing to worry about, right? But the thing is, yes, 3.0 is coming up. Yes, 2.8 is coming up. But the fact that they have been essentially phoning it in for the past 120 days doesn't really matter. Like, that makes the future release of 2.8 and 3.0, it doesn't really help the narrative over here. Because, guys, we've already said it. They've been phoning in the game's content outside of the story since version 2.5. This isn't some new occurrence just for version 2.7. This isn't like some wild new trend that has just occurred in the past version update. Before 2.7, it had already been going on for 90 days. 90 days prior to this. And that's the thing. At that point, what does it matter saying things like, oh, they're prepping for 3.0? Then why did 2.5 and 2.6 have no content? That's not a reason. Prepping for 3.0 is not a reason for 2.6 or 2.5 to have no content. It might be a reason for 2.7. It might be a reason for 2.8. But you want to know what the patch before Wuthering Waves 2.0 was? You want to know what the update 2 versions before 2.0 was for Wuwa? 1.3. One of the best updates in the history of the game was 2 patches before 2.0. So why are we going ahead and using the defense of 3.0's coming out? It's fine that 2.7 has no content when 2.7 is in the exact same spot as 1.3. And yet 2.7 has absolutely no content compared to 1.3. Literally none. Literally none. You got to stop making excuses in that situation because we have 1.3 as a record, again, of what a patch 2 versions before a big update looks like.
I could see Azure Permilia. Wait, actually, I don't know if I even want to talk about this game because most of the clips have chibi characters.
Fair.
Actually, you know what? Editor, keep that shit in there. Just keep it in there. Anyways, I see this title appealing to a lot of the Genshin audience due to the aesthetic, especially if they don't monetize the Pokeballs or whatever the capturing devices are called. If that game doesn't interest you at all, I don't blame you.
There are some designs in Azure Permilia that I'm like cool with, but there's so much stuff in there where I'm just like, yeah, if somebody saw me playing this in public, I'd have a panic attack, to be honest.
But Do at Night Abyss comes out very soon, and even if you don't like games like this, I encourage you to at least try it, because if you love gacha games, you do not want Hoyoverse holding a monopoly in this market for the next 5 years, because every single game that comes out in the future will have to give in to the predatory model that they push in their titles. Okay, this is a good one. Your word of the day is wuwa. I have a video representation instead of a definition today.
Rambling. But if most plants are perfectly content to stay in one place, why does the tumbleweed hit the open road?
So let me know what gacha game you play.
I don't even know what that was. All right. That was a content drought. That was a content drought. And we are undeniably in the middle of one right now. Overall, great vid by the Gacha DG2. Absolutely 100%. Really like the fact that he was kind of like looking outward to, you know, all the new games, all the new stuff like that coming out, and where companies in the present are currently just dropping the ball when it comes to overall potential, because I think we can't really deny at this point that that's literally what's taking place. That will be that for that one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought. And once again, awesome bid by the Gacha DG2. Make sure you give him a sub if you haven't yet. Peace out.